I see that. I mean, a house is an investment as long as you're trying to pay it off. Okay, so that's not a bad debt. People should try to pay it off. Then it becomes a little bit more freeing. But it's the consumer debt that I think people don't pay attention to. And they just kind of put things on credit cards thinking, okay, I'll pay it off at the end of the month. And the end of the month comes like, it's just a little balance. And then it grows and it grows. I mean, this is compound interest in the wrong way.
Yeah.
They're compounding debt. So it's, as a society, we looked at, I mean, it's trillions. You and I were playing around with the math the other day, and we couldn't even get enough zeros on the calculator to figure out how much debt the U.S. I mean, it was in the trillions of dollars.
Yeah, and then all the different kinds, right? Because one of the hot ones that I see a lot about is the student loan debt.
Yes.
And I knew it was bad, but
yeah,
I did about 10 minutes worth of homework on it, and I realized how bad it really is.
Yep.
Now, here's the interesting train of thought, right? Because I'm not real sympathetic. So if you don't,
the warm fuzzy is not sympathetic.
If you don't know me, I will never try to upset anybody. But I'm realistic in debt. It's like, if you're in a lot of it, you did it.
Yes.
Right? It's not, guess what? It's not my fault.
Well, and the student loan debt's all right. So I just looked it up. It's 1.7 trillion with a T.
Yeah.
In the U.S. in student loans.
Yeah.
That's a boatload of money. That's a boatload of money.
Yes.
So you're right. But here's where, and we talked about this before too, because it's a conscious choice to get into debt. And people will say that it's not, but it is. If you are taking on student loans, you know that you're taking them on. I would think in most parts. We have determined that some people don't actually know that loans need to be repaid.
That's mind-blowing.
That seems like loan 101 to me.
Yes.
You know, if you borrow money, you take it.
If you can brush your hair successfully and walk through a doorway, you understand that the word loan, by definition, means it's got to be paid back. And here's insensitive, Matt, right?
Okay.
Because I'm watching some of these kids. I'm sympathetic to the kids because they have a lot of debt.
Right.
Okay. But they're like, well, I don't know how it happened. I didn't know I was going to have to pay it all back. It's called a loan, right?
It's true.
Grant is granted to you. You don't have to pay that back. A scholarship, typically, you don't pay back, right? I mean, you have to maintain certain grade levels.
Right.
But
you
a
don't have to pay it back.
loan, it's a loan. Like, nobody was more dumb than me in college, right? And I don't mean stupid. I mean dumb. I didn't know anything.
Yeah.
Because the school system, as we showed last time we were together, it didn't teach me anything. It didn't prepare me for the real world, right? You know how I got student loans? And fortunately, I didn't get a lot because I had to get a job.
Right.
And I worked through college. I worked flipping burgers at Wendy's and doing all kinds of cool stuff like that, right? You know how I got my first student loan?
But you worked, though. That's the thing.
Oh, I worked my butt off.
Yeah.
I did. I was walking down UCF in Orlando, right? And there was a tent there with a really pretty girl working under the tent. And she had credit card applications.
That was your first.
And it wasn't a student loan per se. It was like a credit card, right?
Yeah.
And if you filled out the application, you got a free 2-liter bottle of Pepsi. Well, at that time, a free 2-liter bottle of Pepsi, you might as well have been handing me $20 because I didn't have it. You know, I'm like, free Pepsi? All I got to do is sign that? Sure, no problem.
But that was for a credit card?
That was for a credit card, yeah. But the student loan, I did get a student loan different. But my point is, I didn't know anything. I was just a babe in the woods, so to speak, right? I just didn't know anything about anything. But I knew that if I was taking out a loan,
you had to give it back.
At some point I had to pay it back.
Well, and it's for so student loans, if you are going into, and this is we talked about before, if you're going into a skilled profession that you need a lot of education, it is hard. I mean, but I fault a lot of the time the colleges, and this is one of the things at the beginning of COVID, because I think COVID, and we've talked about this, is forced us to look at a lot of things. And one of the things I remember when COVID first came out, or the PPP loan first came out, and I remember reading about a bunch of colleges that were getting PPP money. I'm like, y'all are sitting on friggin' millions and millions of dollars of endowment money, but they need to apply for this because same thing, it's free money.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times people they take it because they're like, it's free. But student loans is the one, that and mortgages, I think but you have to be conscious. And that's what's been interesting to see in some of the responses we've got with the survey we'd done previously, was that a lot of people don't think, if they get out of college, like, I had a couple $100,000 I got to pay back. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
They're paying I have a friend or a family member who's a physician. Their student loan payments are more than double their mortgage
Wow.
for 10 years.
And you would think, I don't know much about that industry, you know, so when you're not in that industry, you just assume everybody in it's making a killer money. And I'm sure most are, but I'm also sure that I do know one surgeon back home, and we had lunch, and he was telling me about all the insurance he's got to pay. He's like, I make a lot of money.
But
he
the
goes,
malpractice.
the malpractice insurance eats up whatever the percentage was of that. So by the time he knocked down all of his bills and student loan payments and all that, it's like, I don't know, he had a pretty good job, but it wasn't anything that great.
Well, and you've got to look at, and that's the thing with that people haven't, and part of the challenge that we have without people being educated on these basic concepts is they don't think about it. People, I feel like, take on debt without thinking about it before they do it. They think about it down the road when they're like, oh crap, now we've got hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands, whatever it is. And they haven't thought about what they're going to do with it. But that's student loans. We've got mortgage loans. The consumer debt is what gets me. That's the part. And I was guilty of this. I made, and I was in finance, and I made terrible financial decisions younger. And it was all the needs versus wants. It was the, do I really need this? I'll just charge it. And you can run up credit card bills, and since they'll give a loan, an application, to your point, you put a cute little young person out there on the college campus, every college student above the age of 18 is going to sign up. They don't know what they're signing.